Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Fish Bytes, the Miami Herald's Miami Marlins podcast. I'm Jordan McPherson. He's Andre Fernandez. How are you, Dre?
I'm doing a lot better than the Marlins are, that's for sure. And I think that goes for you and pretty much everyone else that, unless you're the Heat, and the Heat's still hurting from the end of that season, the end of the season, end of the series. But what the Marlins are going through right now too. I mean, this is heading for a little bit of a dull start to the summer here with the developments on the baseball field and now the gut punch on the basketball court. I mean, we got to find something to look forward to. I don't know, Dolphins offseason stuff. I mean, let's see if the Marlins can turn this around a little bit, at least in the next few weeks.
Yeah, that would be the hope. I mean, after they got off to that great April, I think it was 12-8 start. They're at this point in May, they're 7-19 going into Tuesday, the final day of the month. No matter what, they're going to have the worst record in baseball for the month of May this season. Every other team going into the final day already has at least 9 wins. So even if they win on Tuesday, they'll be 8-19.
And what sucks is, what sucks is, like, even with the expanded playoffs this year, like, you know, again, back to being a little expanded, not quite COVID season expanded, but that's the only reason that, at least mathematically, when you look at the standings, you don't go, oh crap, look how far behind. And it's still pretty far, even with that. Even in the wild card, if you look at the wild card standings, it's not 2 games, you know? I mean, there's already a bunch of teams ahead of them. I mean, they're as close to being buried early at this point as you can be, barring a massive turnaround immediately. And signs aren't pointing to that right now, especially with injuries, you know, off and on and again happening. I mean, again, one of their most key pickups, Joey Wendell, we've talked about it, and it seems like he just can't get over this hammy right now. And that's not good. I mean, we were talking about it before we started this right now, how much it's kind of reminding me a little bit of, you know, unfortunately reminding me of the Prado year, where it was like he'd rest a while, come back, boom, it would happen again within a few games. Rest a bit, come back, boom. And then they haven't really given him like a really extended amount of time to rest, like not like the way Prado did back then. Obviously, Prado was a little older at the time than Wendell is. But and that's the dilemma. It's like, is it going to take an extended absence? But then again, that's the problem. It's the catch-22. Then you don't want to have him on the shelf because he's so valuable for you, and just kills you not having him in that lineup.
Yeah, third time that Joey Wendell's dealing with something with his right hamstring. Back before their road trip to San Diego and Arizona, he sat for 3 games and then was fine. Then he went on the IL he was there for about 2 weeks before coming back. And he's only been back a couple games. He's only been back, I think, 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
And now it tightened up on him again, or he felt discomfort when he was flying in the second early in their game on Monday against the Rockies.
Yep.
3 times in a month is that can get scary if it keeps popping back up every single time he gets on the field or makes an aggressive run. He's one of the guys who is an aggressive runner every time he gets down the line.
Right.
So it's gonna add up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You want him to be the player he's capable of being, not a limited Joey Wendell, because that doesn't do you no good either. So again, you're caught in that in between where either you shut him down and you lose him, or you keep playing this game. But again, that's also has its own risks, because you don't want it to become a more serious injury either, for his own sake. You know, I mean, talking about just the individual himself, you don't want to get him seriously hurt as well. So, I mean, not good news, because it gives you the sense that we're headed for an extended shutdown here at some point to see if he can get himself right. And that will only compound their issues on the field.
Yeah, and I mean, you already look at the rest of the injuries they've had. I mean, Brian Anderson right now is dealing with back spasms. He hasn't played in the last, I think it's 3 days now, 2 or 3 days. Jazz Chisholm Jr. is just coming back from a hamstring injury. Yep. John Birdie's just coming back from COVID. And then you look at the flip side, you look on the mound, they're dealing with stuff with the rotation. Again, Jesus Luzardo is going to be out a lot longer than the team anticipated. When he was originally put on the IL middle of the month, they said, yeah, maybe he'll miss 1 or 2 turns with all the off-day stuff. With a forearm injury, it's just, you never risk rushing them back. And and especially when it got to the point where at the start of this road trip, which is basically when, if he was going to be back, he would have been throwing bullpens or whatnot. When they said, yeah, he's still not throwing. And then at the end of the Atlanta trip, at the end of the Atlanta part of the trip, he's like, yeah, he's still not throwing. When Don Mattingly's like, yeah, he's still not throwing. You can do the math how long it's been. He's gonna have to get built up. It's a lot work. It's not as good as we expected.
I remember. I think I was there the day that I was doing one of my spot starts for you that day, and I was like, this wouldn't shock me if it's a little more than they think, just because the way forearm injuries can be. And look.
Yeah. Now, so you have that on top of Cody Poteet, who basically served as that spot guy in Luzardo's spot. He's now on the IL with right elbow muscle injury, which basically means the Marlins have to call a guy up. And it's looking very like, and it's not official yet, but it's looking like certain prospect by the name of Edward Cabrera is going to be making a season debut in the big leagues at some point during this Rockies year. Tuesday would be the most likely sense, which, again, if it is Tuesday, that's talking to today, the day this podcast comes out, or Wednesday to close out the road trip. But he's going to have to start one of those two spots, or they're going to have to go bullpen day, which their bullpen at this point is not in shape to do a bullpen day. So Edward Cabrera, and again, with Edward, it was a slow start for him because he had the right bicep muscle fatigue right around opening day. He was a slow start into the minor league season. He's made, I think, 5 or 6 starts in AAA now. His second to last one was really good. 11 strikeouts over, I think, 6 innings through 100 and some pitches. But again, there's still some concern. Is he fully back to 100%? Is he fully where he needs to be the Edward Cabrera that they were hoping he would be when he got called up last year? The guy with the great stuff, the 100-mile-an-hour fastball, the great off-speed stuff. We're gonna see. He's gonna most likely get thrown into the fire very, very soon.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You have someone that is clicking on all cylinders at the top of the rotation right now in all-star form, the way Sandy's been pitching. But I mean, to think Edward could just come in and just be that good, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he could maybe the first time could come up and maybe he's lights out against the Rockies, but we were talking about a guy who's still in his developmental phase and, could have his ups and downs. But it is good from that sense to finally get him up, to finally get him back and, continue that whole progression too, because, we're at the point now where we're getting into that territory where this season is going potentially that route where it's again about, seeing what you got in guys, developing guys, et cetera, et cetera. No one, no Marlins fan that's been waiting 5 years or more for this team to take a leap wants to hear that. But 19 and 27, that's a fact of life right now.
Yeah, definitely is. And again, then when you look at some of the other spots in terms of starting pitching, again, I know I see it on my mentions a lot, especially every 5th start when Eliezer Hernandez is on the mound. Now these 2 injuries with Luzardo and Poteet, on top of what we're seeing with the injuries in the minors. Again, remember, Max Meyer is hurt. He still isn't fully back he's just starting his throwing program. Sixto Sanchez is still in the middle of his throwing program. Who the heck knows when he's going to be ready? Jordan Holloway's hurt. Braxton Garrett just got off the minor league IL. His last start on Sunday, he threw 5 scoreless innings, but they took him out to 55 pitches.
Yeah.
So you're at the point where outside of Edward, who is going to have to fill in the Luzardo spot, you really don't have an MLB caliber or potential MLB caliber guy ready. If the Marlins did say, hey, we want to make the move we will move Eliezer Hernandez to the bullpen and call up a guy. They really don't have those guys. That starting pitching depth that they rely on and talk so much about, a lot of it's hurt. And that's where you talk about having those layers and all those different, as much depth as you can, because look at the situation they're in right now. And it's literally, you only really have 5 or 6 options at this point, and it's tough to try to maneuver through that.
And why are we shocked by this in a way? I mean, I'm not saying we are, but the short spring.
Yeah.
I go back 2 months. I mean, we knew this was going to happen around the league. It was going to happen to a lot of teams where it was going to hit some harder than others. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing some of the effect of that right now of, just the rush to play. They rushed to the season. And now it seems to be taking that extra toll. I mean, you're going to have injuries regardless, but I feel like that the extra amount that you're seeing, not just on the pitching side, but on the position player side too, and it's hit them pretty hard now, more than usual. But yeah, I mean, it's alarming when now it's even seeping into that part of it where the pitching is their strength, right? So now you're running out of arms, or at least quality proven guys that you go to and know. And now you have to start tapping into that organizational depth where a few more unknowns, whether it's a prospect, whether it's just an org depth guy that you bring up, to have someone. But it's not ideal scenarios by any stretch.
No, it is not. And then just to zoom out a bit and look just big picture at where the Marlins stand. Again, we're talking about the 7-19 record this month and the 19-27 overall. When you look at their May by the numbers, it's kind of funny to see where they stand. I mean, if you look in the month of May, the Marlins have basically been middle of the road in terms of where they stand in the big leagues. 31 homers, tied for 13th in the big leagues. Their 700 OPS is 16th. Their 242 batting average is 16th. Their 3.93 ERA is 15th. Their WHIP at 1.27 is 14th. Their 236 batting average against is 10th. And yet 7 wins to show for it. And it's just one member of the front office who I talked with on one of the recent road trips. A word that he used to describe just the month overall is befuddling. It's, you see different aspects of the team showing up, but you don't see everything coming together on the same day. It's one day you'll see the offense really take off, but it's on a day where the starting pitching collapsed and you're down 5-0 before the offense got going. Or you see the days where Sandy and Pablo are going lights out and the offense is barely able to scratch across a run.
Like Monday, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like Monday, where Pablo Lopez throws 6 scoreless. Jesus Sanchez hit a ball that I'm pretty sure is still somewhere in orbit. And then Cole Sulser in the 7th inning and then Cole Sulser in the 7th inning just choked it all up in the span of, 4 or 5 batters? And it's, again, it's like you'll see 2 aspects of everything working, and then the third ends up just completely negating everything that you see from it. And it's a matter of, is everything going to come together? And if so, is it going to come together in time before they have to start making decisions about what direction they're going to go with the rest of the season?
My thing is where some of these clutch hitting numbers stand, because is it still middle of the pack, but some of them have to be lower than
it's that. Not even middle of the pack anymore. And that was going to be the next point of, again, you see like the 700 OPS, 242 overall batting average, their runners in scoring position numbers have gotten even worse. It's 220 now, 27th in the league. And it's because, and I've talked about this with Christina D. Nicole of the Marlins Radar at MLB.com in the press box. Almost every time we see them get a runner on first and second with no outs, instead of trying to just do basic baseball, move guys station to station, scratch across a run or two, everybody seems to be going for the 3-run home run, even when they're down 6 runs, thinking a 3-run home run is going to give them 7 runs on the board. And it's the fundamentals of just finding a way to either get a simple base hit or get a ground out to the right side that'll get the runners from first, second to second and third, or just find ways to be more simplistic with it instead of just going all out and ending up striking out and stranding your guys, which has been the case more often than not.
But that's what happens when a lot of the guys in your lineup have always been kind of the all or nothing type hitters too. And that's what sucks in a way, because when you're left with kind of, again, going back to the off season, I'm not saying it would have happened, but it's a shame that a certain South Floridian wasn't signed to come down here, which I don't know, maybe he could have generated a little more consistent bat in the lineup that they need right now. Maybe
I think the guy you're talking about just homered because we're talking about them on something right now.
Well, there you go. there you go. I mean, with the luck that they've had, I mean, maybe he gets hurt too. I don't know, but I just feel like that whole 2 for the price of 1 or rationale.
Yep.
I don't know, and I don't think so. I mean, that could have been, that was the big splash, and again, it didn't happen. What's done is done, but that would have been good at this point. I'm not saying it would have cured everything, but these numbers might not be as bad had he been there and had it not been, Mr. Castellanos, if people haven't figured it out by now. I think that would have made a big difference in the lineup overall. It would have been a little bit better than in the dire straits that it's been, because this team, more often than not, I mean, I'm sorry, it's just they can't hit when it counts, and that's the recurring trend. I know, I get it, and that tends to happen where one half of the equation disappears one day and another day. That happens. But this team, the repetitive problem is that they just do not, in general, with a few exceptions here and there, just do not hit when it counts more often than not. And that's what's killing them. That's at the root of the many things that are killing them this season. To me, that's definitely the biggest one.
Yep. And now they're at the point where after this horrendous May, they've got a jam-packed June that's basically going to determine where they go from here. After they finish the series with the Rockies, they play all but 3 days next month. They have they have a 6-game homestand with or a 7-game homestand after that, with 4 games against San Francisco, an off day, then 3 games against the Nationals. And then this lovely 3-city road trip of 3 games against Houston, 3 games against Philly, and then finally facing the Mets for the first time this season with a 4-game stretch with an off day mixed in there. And then 3 more games against the Rockies. Yeah.
Philly could be fine because they tend to do well against the Phillies. But yeah, between the AL contender and then the team that's on fire in the division right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, they're going to face the Mets twice within a 3-series span. They close out that road trip against them. And then their final homestand of the month is 3 against Colorado, 3 against the Mets.
Yeah.
And then they're back on the road against St. Louis.
All the meetings with the Mets all in a compressed amount of time. Yeah. So get ready to see the red and blue over and over,
Well, might luck out for the Marlins on the side of the fact that there's no Scherzer and no DeGrom. That might be their one saving grace.
Mr. Gator here, the similar colors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yep.
But no, it's this month by the end of July or end of June, going into July. We should know one way or the other what direction the season's going to be going. Oh yeah,
you're going to be sick of the Mets by July because here come all the games against them.
Yeah, in June again, we're going to see them 7 times in the span of 10 days.
Yeah,
and then see them twice more in 2 more series in July. I don't get when the schedule makers, knowing that division games are going to be, you're facing divisional opponents 19 times each. How does a team how do you not face one of your divisional opponents until mid-June?
Well, this is the last year of that.
Yeah.
Because next season we're going to have, which I like. I hate this 19 times. It's too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like the fact that next year they're going to shuffle it around where you can kind of play everybody, which is cool. Yeah. You get more of the rare matchups now more often than you used to. But you lessen that whole thing.
Yeah, getting to face, again, I appreciate getting the fact that they're going to be able to face every AL team each year and then just alternate the home road, who's home, who's on the road. Also expedites my hope of getting to all 30 ballparks over the next couple of years. I'm 9 away. Once I get to Oakland, I'll be 8 away, and they're all 8 are in the American League. So
I'm still in the same boat, man. I'm still at 7 after I had to jump off the beat a couple of years ago. But maybe in spots I can gain ground too now that this is going to be the case.
Yeah, the way this is working, if things work out by 2024, I'll be at all 30 until Oakland moves to like Vegas or something. I have to redo number 30. I'll redo 30 again.
Yeah, when the A's start playing right next door to the Raiders, you'll have to go out there and spend the week on the strip. Not a week. If you spend the week on the strip, we might lose you. I mean, out there, it's only supposed to be a 3 or 4 game series. You'll be like, "What are you doing out there?"
I guess I'm gonna become one of those big Vegas guys like Tommy Pham. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Or it's in September. You can wait for a Raiders game on the weekend or something.
There we go. Double up. Yep. Again, I've already done a couple double ups this year with Game 4 of the Heat with the Hawks, getting the help with the Panther Swan song before covering the Rays series, which I'm telling you, Tampa, again, just a quick aside here, the Lightning, they got a chance to 3-peat here. That was an incredible showing out there.
They should already be on a 3-peat. They blew it the first season, and that year they looked amazing. And now this could be 4 in a row right now, the way they're going. But yeah. And then wait till football season when now Brady's back. His just kidding retirement. I mean, Tampa's all over it right now.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun up there. But in the meantime, let's wrap this up
on our end.
Yeah, let's wrap this up on our end, and let's do some minor league stuff. We talked about how the big league clubs looked in May. For my minor league piece this week, I broke down just some standouts from the minor leagues, standouts both good and bad from the month of May. And the first two guys that really stood out to me on the positive side, got to give some kudos to Griffin Conine. This month so far, and obviously they also have one more game on Tuesday, so these numbers are going to fluctuate slightly. But heading into the final day of the month, 300 batting average, 18 for 60, 5 home runs, 17 RBI, 10 runs, 1025 OPS, which leads all qualified Marlins prospects for the month. And then first baseman Troy Johnston, who's a guy who I liked a lot with what he did in Beloit last year. Yeah. When I saw him in Beloit, or when I watched his numbers in Beloit last year, he's right now 291 on the month, 11 RBI, 10 runs. And he's on a 12-game hit streak going back to May 8th. 373 batting average in that span, multiple hits in each of his last 4 games. He's one of those guys who was kind of under the radar, but he's going to be one of their first base depth guys right now. He's basically outside of potentially Gerard Encarnacion, who hasn't debuted in the big leagues yet. Lewin obviously is the guy waiting in the wings, but Troy is probably the guy who's right behind him.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where the lack of depth at a position kind of, helps him out, where, he's not where somebody where they're like 7 deep at another spot. So that could facilitate his rise, like you're saying. A little bit of an under the radar guy still, but starting to not be as much because you're starting to hear his name more and more often, which is cool for his sake. I saw you had a few more guys here, including an old fave, Nasim Nunez, Mr. Speedy Defense First Nunez.
Nas.
Doing a little more in Beloit lately.
Yeah. Again, Nasim Nunez, he's been a glove first guy, speed guy. Defense is his primary and what's going to carry him through. But
the bat coming along
this month, we're finally starting to see some of the bat up there in Beloit. 279 with 11 stolen bases and 12 runs scored this month. This past week, though, 364 batting average with 5 stolen bases. I don't have this for sure, but I'd have to assume that's probably one of his best offensive stretches of a 5-6 game stretch that he's had in Pro Bowl at this point. And it's good.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, again, anything you can get, any progress he makes on that front, just to complement the other tools that he brings, is a good sign for sure. And yeah, I mean, I don't remember seeing. I mean, it'd be nice to dive a little more into just beyond the average, but that's good. That shows he's making some good contact. He's hitting well so far. It's a good step for him, and I think he's still one of those very athletic type prospects that they've liked for a long time and they have hope for. So we'll see if he can keep it going.
Yeah, and then 2 other under the radar ish position players. Cody Morissette, their 2nd round pick last year out of, I believe it was Boston College. Middle infielder, also plays some third base. 828 OPS up in Beloit as well after having a 188 batting average in April. 4 home runs, 16 ribbies, 14 runs in 23 games. He's leading the Sky Carp right now with 6 home runs, 24 RBI, and 22 runs scored. Again, he's one of those more utility infielder type guys, but he's shown some flashes here and there. He impressed a little bit that he got to do last year after getting drafted. So some good signs from him. And then outfielder Brady Allen, 5th round pick last year out of South Carolina. Single A Jupiter, he led the Hammerheads this month with a 268 batting average, 4 home runs, and 19 RBI. And just to say on the position player side, but on the flip end of it, Khalil Watson, after lighting it up his first month, 941 OPS, 18 RBI, 5 runs scored. His May, finally, it was a come-to-earth moment for him. He only hit 170, was 15 for 88. But the number that really is raising a flag for me right now, 39 strikeouts in basically 90-some plate appearances. And only 3 extra base hits out of his 15 base hits. 2 doubles, 1 home run. That's that 39 strikeout mark. That was the one that made my eyes bug out a little bit when I started putting the piece together today.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, there's going to be patches like this, and guys are going to just have to adjust. I mean, to me, it's the bounce back, assuming he bounces back, in the next couple months. I mean, to me, it adds a little layer to it, because we've heard so much about the phenom and, the talent and the tools and everything. Okay. Now let's see how he responds to some real adversity in that sort of thing, because then you'll be able to tell a little bit more about him, over the next couple of months. So I'm curious to follow that. It's actually something, to me, it's kind of like even more interesting now. Like, let's see how these next couple of months now during the summer, how he handles it and how he kind of bounces back from this.
Yeah, definitely. And then to go on the mound, Yuri Perez, again, the 19-year-old, doing it again. Finally threw 6 innings in a start in Pro Bowl for the first time ever in his last start out. 5 strikeouts, 3 hits, 1 walk, no runs. And over the month of May, he only got to make 3 starts because Pensacola last week basically didn't get to play because the Biscuits, I forget what city they're in, but their mascot name is fantastic.
Montgomery.
Yeah, go Montgomery Biscuits. They had a COVID issue, so they're basically, I think they got 1 game in last week overall, and it wasn't Yuri's scheduled day, so he only got 3 starts this month instead of 4. But still, in those 3 starts, he had a 2.12 ERA this month, 4 earned runs on 10 hits and 4 walks with 20 strikeouts over 17 innings. And this was after, again, we talked about how his first couple starts, we had that acclimation period. He finally seems to have started to settle in, which was that key to finding out when he was going to settle in, and when he did, would it be consistent? And so far through these last 4, once he finally started getting into his groove, it seems like he's getting there.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's definitely encouraging. Again, the longer he gets some of these starts, the more he gets to, to kind of last more in starts, the more experience, the more, the more time the more situations he can handle, just the better. I mean, he's only 19. And again, he's like the one we're talking about him because he's only 19, and you see the big frame, you see the, the potential tools there. But again, these are big steps and encouraging spots to see. And on a much less important basis, I can't believe you forgot the Montgomery Biscuits with the
I got biscuits. That's at least to me. Mascot name is the key.
With that amazing logo with the eyes and the logo even has the piece of butter on the biscuit, which is hilarious. But one of the great minor league baseball nicknames and logos out there.
At some point on one of these episodes, we're going to have to just do a minor league ranking of nicknames. At some point,
we should.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, 19 and 27 and spiraling. If it keeps spiraling, we're going to get to the point that the people that listen to this are going to need some kind of entertainment other than the depressing numbers we're giving them.
Yeah. At this point, anyone listening, we're taking write-in submissions now to start for our ballot to start ranking. So anybody, again, you can send it to us via email, Twitter, however you want to do it. Comment on the story on the Herald website that has the podcast link to it. However you want to submit it to us, we're all ears.
And we know about the biscuits and the trash pandas already, so surprise us with a few we've never heard of,
or some that we did and we're going to go back or some that we're going to go back to and go, oh right, that's still there. That's still a name.
Right.
Yeah. Or even if you want to give us throwback names from some of the defunct teams that have gone away now, I mean, we'll take those as well.
Like the Isotopes.
The Isotopes. Oh, the Isotopes.
Yep.
All right. I think that's a good place to stop this week, Andre. I think we got to a good stopping point here.
If we're down to talking about the Albuquerque freaking Isotopes, I think that we should call it a week.
Yeah. So with that, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Fish Bytes. Thanks as always for tuning in, everyone. I'm Jordan McPherson. He's Andre Fernandez. We'll be back next week.